So now that we have my template set up here and saved, what I want to do is I actually want to create some pages from it. What I'll do is if I close this window now, what's going to happen is it's going to give me an error, or not an error, a warning. Okay, it's going to say, warning, the template doesn't have any editable regions. Are you sure you want to continue? Now, what this means is that I haven't told this template to have any areas that people can work on. The whole point of a template is that everything is locked except for the stuff that we tell it is allowed to be edited. That's what the template is there for. So if I click OK, what will happen is it will save this and close it without adding any editable regions, which means I will be able to make a page from it, but I won't be able to edit that page once it's made. So let's quickly do that. Click OK. Now it's asking to save my CSS. I say yes, please. And I'm going to File and then New. What I do when I go to File New is rather than going to Blank Document or Blank Page, I go to Site Template, Main Root Folder, and then Assignment Main Template. Create from that template, and there it is. Now this looks perfect. This looks exactly what I wanted. My header is set up, my navigation is set up, and my footer is set up. But I cannot go and edit any of this stuff, including my main section, which is where I need to add my content. Can't do it because it's all locked because it's a template. You can see this no entry symbol here for the cursor. It just doesn't let me access any of this stuff to edit it. So close that page, don't need it. If I reopen my template, what I need to do is I need to add an editable region. Now an editable region is always added over content. So if I highlight this text that's already in here, I can make that an editable region. That will allow me to edit any content that would go in place of this. So content for ID main section goes here. It's a pretty good thing to have actually in my template for me to change. So what I'm going to do is I can go to either Insert, Template, and then Editable Region from this list, or the way I like to do it is use the Insert panel. There's a Templates option, and the third one along here is Editable Region. When I click that, it pops up this box, and it asks me to name my region. Currently it's being called Editable Region 3, or Edit Region 3. The reason for that is because the title is already an editable region, so we can change the title on any of our pages, and there's a little section in the head, in the code, that we can change as well if we want to. We don't need to worry about those. This is the first editable region we're actually making in our body, in the content of our page. So I'm going to call this something like main content, or main section should we call it, section editable. Okay, that means that this is an editable region for main section. Very easy to understand when I name it sensibly like that. Click OK. You should now be able to see that there's this blue tab here and a little blue box around the text. That means that this area can now be edited if I make a page from it. So let's do that. Let's make 2 pages based on our Photoshop document that we made previously. So File, save that template. I can close it now. It won't give me any warnings because it's got an editable region. If I go to File, then I go to New, then I go to Site Template, then I go to Main Root Folder, then I go to Assignment to Main Template, Create. Now I can highlight in here and I can make changes. So I could say, here is some text for my page, or something like that. Now what I really want to do is create a page based on my Dreamweaver page. So page 1 is 2 boxes, 494 by 420. So I can add those in. I'm going to do that just by adding a new structural element in here. It will let me add structural elements, or I can just add text, or I can just add images, whatever I want to do. Now that I've got this, I can start making these changes. So let's make an article in here, which I will call page 1 left. Okay, maybe left col will be useful. So my first page in the left column on my first page. Now, because I'm adding these all to the same CSS document, I do need to be able to identify which column goes with which page and set up the document that way. The other option, of course, would be to save a new CSS document for this particular page, but that's going to create lots of CSS documents, which I don't necessarily want to do at this stage. Absolutely brilliant idea if you're working with lots of pages and you've got lots of different things you need to work with. But what I want to do here is I want to call this page 1 left column, click OK, add a selector for hash page 1 left column. In fact, I could just call this page 1 column really, but that'll do. And I'm going to set the width to pixels 494, I believe it was. Yeah, I think that's right. Yep, with a height of 420. The height of pixels 420. Great, that'll do. Now I could put another one of those in as well. I could cheat a little bit and just make the same column next to it and then float them. Let's do that. Let's just do that very quickly so we can see this. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put in another column using my split view here. See, all the code is grayed out because it's a template. But this is the code that I've added, which is in the normal colored mode. Yeah, normal colors that you would expect. I'll copy that. And I'm going to put in another template in there. So now I've got two articles called page 1 left column. Again, I could probably call them page 1 column really. Back to my design view. There they are, there's my two columns. Let's maybe change that so they float next to one another. So we use that fun little button over here called float. Oh, not for the wrapper though. Float with the page 1 left column. Float. Those two now sit next to one another. You can see my footer is jumped up here, this little green spot up here. So what I'll need to do is I need to go into my footer and make sure that is clear. So underneath, again, footer, and clear that. That's one page set up with two areas to work in. Cool. Let's file and then save that as my index page .html. Now what I will do is I will set up my other page as well, but you don't need to see me do that. So what I'm going to do is, now that that is saved, my index.html, I will make another page off camera, off video, and then we will see those two up here in the next video. Then we can start looking at how to change the template and affect all the pages. But really, that's the main thing we want to do here, is go through and just create from our templates with File, New, Site Template, Main Root Folder, Assignment Main Template, Create. Page looks completely different now. I would save this as whatever I want to save it as. So I'll call this page 2. It's mostly done. All I need to do is add my content in here. So I'll do that, come back with that done, and we'll look at what happens when we start editing the template.